Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes. It's Friday, 12:30, and I'm joined by Colin Watt and Jim Orr. We're going old school. And you may have been watching the live Europa League draw. We're going to kick off with that straight off the bat, ladies and gents. If you haven't already heard the draw, then it looks a little something like this. Celtic will be playing Roma at Celtic Park. We will then visit Feyenoord for an away tie. We're back at home against the Portuguese side Braga, who we've played before, of course. We're away from home to the Serbians, Crvena Zvezda. Sorry for any of my Serbian Celtic fans for absolutely murdering that name. Please let me know how to pronounce it. Sturm Graz at home, the Austrians, and then we're away again to Midtjylland. We know all about Midtjylland. We're away to Denmark, and then back home for Utrecht from the Netherlands, and then obviously we also have quite a big one, I think, Colin, Bologna. Your favourite players there, eh? Lewis Ferguson.
Yeah, Lewis Ferguson. Yep. To be honest, it's a tough draw. I think there's some difficult ties there. Going away to Red Star in Serbia will definitely be a tricky one.
No, that's a cop out. Didn't give me the Red Star stuff. Come on.
No. They even said it on the broadcast. They said Red Star on the broadcast. So
cop out.
Roma, obviously, you know what they've got. Very good Italian side. Braga, Sturm Graz. They've got the return to Scotland, depending on if he leaves this window, of Max Johnson, the former Motherwell fullback.
He's away.
Is he away? Confirmed?
Yeah, 3.5.
Confirmed. Good signing that. And then obviously Utrecht. I think the last time we played Utrecht was maybe in the Europa League a couple of years back, maybe under Neil Lennon.
I'll call that, yeah.
Obviously Feyenoord we've played quite recently. Yeah. Midtjylland, they've always been doing quite well in Europe over the last few years. And Bologna, depending on when when the fixtures sort of come around, that'll be an interesting one to see when we're playing them. You kind of want to get the hard ones out the road first, and then pick up the points as it goes on. But we'll see how it goes. See, Kevin agrees. Red Star Belgrade.
Well, I knew Kev would, because he still calls El Yunusi El Ahusi. Kev will probably remember the centenary game against Red Star Belgrade, and that was something that we always look back on, because it was Prozinecki. Stojkovic, I think, was one of the other players. Jim, you might have been at that game. It was a bitterly cold evening at Celtic Park. Jim, obviously this week has been up and down for Celtic and for us as contributors, and for many of the commenters and the audience. But we are where we are when it comes to Europe today, and we're in the pot, and that's our fixtures. And I guess what happens is expectations have gone through the roof. They've then plateaued, and then they've started coming right back down to earth. And this is the Europa League. I'm going to echo what Colin says. Tough draw, isn't it? I mean, you're up against quality sides from various different nations. But again, there is a level of excitement, but it's tough to get fully excited and on board with it when you were trying to visualise a Champions League campaign. What's your feelings? Just happy to be involved in Europe, Jim? And do you think we can progress out of that league stage?
Good question. Big question. I wasn't aware of the draw. Did all get my homework? Is my excuse. So yeah, it's tougher than I thought it was going to be. So I thought a lot of the big teams in the Champions League leaving us to whiz through the Europa and win it. I'm well over Tuesday, basically. I'm disappointed that we're not in it. I think all the chickens have come home to roost. All the things we've all been saying happened the other night, and I'm sure you've done it today. So I don't know if you have an appetite to do it again today. So I think we should just look forward rather than look back, because and you have to reconcile as to where we are just now. We didn't want to be in the Europa League, but it's a competition we could win. If we sign 2 or 3 half-decent players, if the manager gets his act together, if our players start to play to their full potential, who knows, we could actually go pretty deep in this tournament. And while it's good to be in the Champions League, I've said before, I don't like being in a competition that we can't win. That's why I admire Motherwell fans and Johnson fans, because week in, week out, they're in the competition they can't win, and they come to the games week in and week out. And that's when people talk about the best fans in the world. That's when that kind of falls apart for me a wee bit. That's people support their team despite the fact there's no chance of winning it. So, actual fact, we're in a competition we could win, which is pretty exciting. There's a lot of good games that you've just mentioned there against good opposition. There's no reason why we can't go deep in this competition, and we could win it. And so, for that, I'm excited. The fact we're in a competition that we could win.
Well, you know what, Jim? There's two sides to that argument, because I'm sitting looking at these fixtures, and we will cover them, and we'll cover them as we always do. And I want Celtic to win, as I always do. I would much rather we were in the Champions League, progressing and building. The problem I've got with that is we got a wee glimpse of it last season, and then we failed to progress, Colin, and that's a big frustration. So I wasn't, one of these Celtic fans saying, you know what, Europa League's your level, we're not a Champions League club. I was far more thinking, well, we got a glimpse of what we could do last season. Let's build on it. We didn't build on it deliberately. Who knows? Jim, you're right. All week we've been talking about this. There's been a lot. I don't even think it's negativity. Some people might think it is. There's been a lot of discussion around the failings, and not just at board level, at managerial level, and on the park as well. But Colin, we are where we are, and we're going to focus on these games. I'd much rather be playing in the Champions League, though.
Yeah, 100%. Everybody wants to be at the pinnacle of European football, but after Tuesday night, it probably didn't come as a surprise to me. I think we are where we are at the moment, and what's happened has happened, and we sort of look forward to these games that are coming up. We look forward to the league campaign. It's trying to kind of get away from the way it's felt all summer and start to try and look forward to something that's been a disappointing summer in terms of transfers. It looks as if some movement might be happening over the last few days, maybe a bit too late than what we needed it. But it's time to try and get behind the team on the park as such. The boardroom stuff and the stuff that's happening behind the scenes, we got our rights to say what we think about it, and a lot of people have done. But with this game coming up on Sunday and going forward, it is about backing the team and the ones that want to be there and the ones that are going to put the best effort on the park against these games.
Well, you know this, right? This will be right up Jim Moore's street. Yesterday, I was in Glasgow, Jim, and I was speaking to Jerry Dunbar, Joe Miller, and Andy Murdoch of Not the View fame. I'll tell you, it was one of the most enjoyable. Oh, yes. One of the most enjoyable 1 hours. And what actually happened was, obviously, Jim, you're a bit of an aficionado when it comes to the fanzines as well. I used to write into the Not the View. They used to have like a shorts section at the end, and you would write and say, look, I'm missing number 3, number 7, and number 20 to complete my collection. So I think originally I had the first 100. And then obviously house moves and all that kind of stuff. And then, Jim, you furnished me probably with the first 100. So I went in armed with 50 editions on the table, and very naturally, Jim, the guys were picking them up and going, oh, they embarrassed the hoops, great Celtic haircuts of our time. And we were talking about the posters and everything about it, and it flowed really well. But a lot of the discussions that came in were also where we are now. Are there any similarities in relation to the outcry from the fan base? We'll touch on it slightly. That's gone out tonight on the channel at 6 o'clock, by the way. We'll touch on that slightly, but there is a lot of other stuff, as Colin has quite rightly pointed out, that we will cover today with one eye on Sunday. And I'm going to start off, first of all, with the departure of Adam Idah to Swansea. Now, Jim, a year ago on this very show, I was asking everybody that came on, do we pay the $9 million for Adam? Do we pay it? Do we pay it? And you are very cautious when it comes to finance. And even you were saying, yes, pay the money, get the striker, and let's move on. It's a strange situation, because I seem to split it into 3 sections for Adam. I split it into the loan period of 6 months, and I say, was that a success? Yes. I then look at last season. Was that a success? People will argue with that. People will debate that. I'm going to say over the piece, and in particular the Champions League, yes, but not as great in terms of performances as the first 6 months. This season, has that been a success? Very small sample size, but I'd say no, there'd been something up. Don't know if it's attitude, don't know if his head's been turned, wants out of Celtic, wants out of Glasgow, I don't know. But lo and behold, we hear yesterday, Swansea are interested, then Swansea have a medical, then Adam Idah's agreed terms, then he said goodbye to all his teammates. It's happening, we're talking 7 million, we'll lose a few £1 million on it. Do you think it's the right move for Adam Idah? Do you think it's the right move for Celtic?
I think before answering that question, just to clarify from the last question you asked there, I'm kind of reconciled to where we are just now. I'm not reconciled to as to how we've ended up where we are and what's behind that. And I think that's something that's worthy of a bit more debate. Basically, how we got ourselves into that situation. So I'm furious about that, but we can come back to that in a wee while. Reconciled, we're in Europa, furious as to why we've ended up in there. Yeah. Adam Idah won us the league 2 seasons ago. If it wasn't for Adam Idah, we didn't win the league 2 seasons ago. He showed he could score in the big games. The guy showed what he could do. Again, as a club, we footered about. We could have got Idah for £5 million. If we got him for £5 million, no, everyone would have been happy with that. But we messed about, as we always do. And what was interesting this week was somebody posted something on the socials, and it was quotes from the previous managers. And it was Brendan twice, Ange, Lenny, and even Ronnie Dyler. And they all said the same thing during the transfer window. We don't seem to be able to get the players in quickly enough. They all said that to a man. Unbelievable, right? So that's why we paid £9 million for Adam Idah, because that's the dysfunctional club that we have that let that happen. So, as I said before about Arnie Engels, my Jesse J principle, forget about the price tag. It's nothing to do with price tags, right? You pay what you pay. You pay what clubs are willing to pay or willing to sell at. Isn't it his fault? We bought him in at a time where he showed what he could do in the big games, not the wee daft games where you're scoring a hat-trick against Falkirk. You know, he stood up to be counted. He took penalty kicks late at Easter Road in the last minute of the game. They were vital penalty kicks. He scored the winner in the cup final in the last minute. You had to sign the guy. Of course you had to sign the guy. How much you paid? That was up to the board. And they screwed that up. And we'll lose a wee bit of money. And we'll lose a little bit of money. Well, actually, we're going to lose a lot less money than I thought we'd lose. Because that's what it's like a £5 million player.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jim, but I don't think we've lost money on Adam Idah. For me, he's the guy that scored the goal against Young Boys last year to put us through into the round of 16, which earned the club £5-6 million. Sorry, not the round of 16, the round of 24 or whatever it's called now. £5-6 million. If we get £7 million back for him, for me, you look at that in a business sense, you've probably broke even on him.
Yeah,
Colin, you know this.
Yeah,
sorry, Jim.
Just to finish that, all I was talking about was just the transfer fee, because if Adam Idah hadn't come in for that 6-month loan, we wouldn't have got the Champions League money. That went across the city, and that'd have been game changing. So he contributed a phenomenal amount of raising money for Celtic, but in terms of the transfer fee, we'll lose a little bit out of that, and I'm surprised we're losing a little bit. So that's actually good business, I think, for us. But the issue that I have is getting back to, we're a dysfunctional club and we have to sort that one out. As far as Adam Idah's concerned, I thought he was phenomenal that first 6 months. I thought he came off the bench quite a lot last season, scored a number, also over 20 goals, scored 2 in the Champions League. The Young Boys game, it wasn't for him, we don't beat Young Boys. So he contributed massively last season. And for whatever reason, it's not worked out this season. Maybe he fancied a move, maybe, as Colin said, maybe he's not settled in Glasgow, whatever. And we're all experts in body language. And we're looking at him thinking, he doesn't look up for it. And the stories about he wasn't fit during the pre-season and he was sick at training. So maybe there's other things in his personal life that we don't know about. The guy did a phenomenal job for Celtic, and we wish him well. He's also he's a current international player.
Yes,
so it's not so we wish him well, and he's made a huge contribution to Celtic Football Club.
The big thing for me, and it's going on both of your points here in relation to the value of a player. And I'm going back to a conversation a few weeks ago I had with Quinny. It's such an abstract figure because there is no system of data that you type a player's name in and it tells you how much they're worth. It comes down to circumstances. It comes down to the selling and the buying club, how much they're willing to pay, etc. And that's why, as Jim says, we ended up paying what we did. We paid £8.5 million for Adam with £1 million add-ons, right? So I don't even think, we would need to check this, but I don't even think we'll have paid the £1 million add-ons, because he's not been here that long, right? He's been here for one season. In relation to what he did during his time, I also agree with you, Jim. 6 months deal, big goals. Without that, we don't have Champions League football. Without that, we don't have the double. And we sign him, and absolutely, we should have signed him. We probably spent £3 million more than we should have done in relation to that. That's on the board. Last season, there was an opportunity for him to become the first choice number 9 after Kyogo leaves. Dyson Maeda had the season of his life. So that's circumstance, that's circumstance. But Adam Idah did enough for me in the Champions League. He scores against Slovan Bratislava on his Champions League debut, scored 2 against Aston Villa, and he forces that goal against Young Boys, as you say, Colin. So if you were to add all that up and think, well, how much did we make as a result of his contribution? Rather than just saying, right, we bought him for 8.5, we've sold him for 7, we've lost 1.5. We've not lost anything on him, really.
No.
We've not lost anything on him. So, it's about looking at it slightly differently, Colin.
Yeah, there's different ways of looking at it. As Jim said, he was looking purely at the transfer fee and what you're getting back. There's other ways of saying it is, what did he contribute to the team? Did he win us the league that season on his loan spell? He made a fair dent in winning that league. Did he contribute to us making the last 24 of the Champions League last season? Again, made a fair dent in it. So his contributions to the club were fairly decent. The problem with Adam Idah for me was he was never an out-and-out lone striker, and that's the way that Celtic have played for the last however many years. We've always had that sort of lone striker, the 2 wingers cutting in, coming in at the back post to supplement that, and someone breaking through the midfield to get on the end of the box. Idah most recently was sort of having to drop very, very deep to pick up the ball and link with the play. Whereas in that loan spell...
Do you think that suited him, Colin? Do you think that suited him?
No. He was a penalty box striker.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the goals that he scored in his loan spell. It was getting on the end of a cross for a header. It was being in the right place at the right time. So for me, without getting that sort of service into him, it wasn't working. And you know what? We cut our losses and we move on. As you say, we wish him the best. I think he will find his feet down in the English Championship. I think it's a league that suits him better. And we'll see what happens with him. But the most important thing is we have to look at the replacement. And we already needed a striker. So for me, between now and I think it's 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock on Monday night, we really need 2 strikers. And I hope that the first of those is the one that we've been linked with just now in Kasper Dolberg.
Are you going to get your tie on for the transfer show, Colin, for Monday?
I'll see how it goes.
Buzz in again. That Colin hit Neil in the head. Service. This time, at the end of the last 6 months of last season, he's got Jota in one wing and Kuhn in the other wing. Fizzing in both of them.
I know.
This year, he's got nobody doing that. So he's had no service this year. So, and strikers thrive in confidence as well. And we also don't know what the lad's like. He looks to me like a kind of quiet guy. Maybe he's a kind of introvert and doesn't get that involved. Whereas something like Yakimakis looks like a really cocky guy. Up for anything. Whereas maybe if you're not scoring goals and you're quite a kind of shy guy, a bit introverted, that hits you more. Maybe you start to kind of doubt your own ability. And so there's a raft of reasons why maybe this season it hasn't worked out. The season's only just started. But I think we all knew when he stepped up to take that penalty the other night, which he should have had to do because Engels is the man to take penalties. We knew he'd miss. Knew he'd miss. And that's a lot of pressure on the lad, taking that walk. I always think when it goes to penalties and it's 0-0 games, I always think the pressure's even more. Nobody scored a goal during the game.
And it's his last kick. It's his last kick for Celtic, Jim.
It's his last kick.
That's the memory.
And I felt, as I said before, the board let us down by not having enough players. And I think the manager let us down the other night. Team tactics, substitutions, order of penalties, and players let us down as well. Anyway, I don't want you back there. So move on.
No, that's fine. We have covered it in depth, Jim. So if you do fancy a wee rant, Colin and Jim, you've not had a chance this week on here anyway. Just dive right in. But you're right. It's unfortunate for me because Adam Idah started getting a lot of stick, particularly this season. I think I would also throw in last season if we're talking Champions League being his main, for me, his main high point. I think Atalanta was a big night for Adam Idah. I thought it was brilliant that night. Trusty and Scales got a lot of plaudits, but Adam Idah was excellent that night as well. So yeah, Jim, you're right, and it's something that we can only speculate about, the type of character he is, how it affects him to come to Celtic. He speaks about his background and coming from a Celtic supporting family, how much it means to him, the burden, the stress, the pressure. A lot of players can shrug that off. We've seen the arrogant guys and all that. And sometimes you need to have a wee touch of that to be able to handle the pressure of playing for Celtic. There was a few moments where, he probably didn't cover himself in glory. But, Brendan Rodgers always backed him, Colin. He backed him up when he was caught in that video, having had a few sherbets. So what? He's a football player. I get it, but he's also human, Colin, right? You've also got as I said to Jim the other week, there was a moment during the Sporting Lisbon game where he's been put through his paces after getting hooked, and he vomits on the side of the park. Was there a fitness issue? Was he one of these guys? And it happens even in the modern day where it takes you a wee while to get fit after pre-season. You know, a lot of these guys struggle with that as well, Jim. Back in the day, I think it was a bigger issue. They used to put the bin liners under their training jackets. Bobby Murdoch, George Conley, Dixie Deans to lose all the weight in the pre-season.
Did he have a bug? Who knows? These
Could be anything.
we're all experts at this. I just think basically the lad did really well. Certainly that 6 month loan, he was brilliant. He did fine last season, and this season he's not a lot of service, but his confidence looks shot, and there could be lots of other reasons as well. But we wish him well, and he's made a fantastic contribution.
I do wish him well. You know, back in the day, going back to the Not the View stuff, you know, they embarrassed the hoops on the back of the fanzine and all this kind of stuff. We used to say a player was a hit or a flop. If I was to be asked about Adam Idah over the piece, Colin, I'm going to still say he's a hit. He scored in a Scottish Cup final. He scored 3 goals against Rangers, 3 Champions League goals last season. As you said earlier on, he'd done as much as anybody did to win us that league in Rodgers' first season. So I'm going to say he was a hit, Colin. Is that too much? Where would you be?
Is there a middle ground? I would be.
Get off that fence.
No, I'll have skills to my backside.
This is not a hit, for goodness sake, Colin. He's a hit.
No.
He's a big hit. Go off the fence. It just occurred to me there when you were chatting. There was some of the surreal things that I've done involving Acsom has got along to the media conference of the new players sign.
Yeah.
I went to Kuhn, he's away. Went to Idah's, he's away. So don't send me anymore.
There's one for Yang. There's one for Yang this afternoon, Jim. Can you make it?
I'll be there.
Well, will he make it?
Well, this is the thing, Colin. There isn't actually one for Yang, but we're going to move on to him. So let us know in the comment section about your thoughts on the Europa League draw. Quite a lot of you have joined a wee bit late. We're on 2,700 live. The draw is as follows: Celtic versus Roma, Feyenoord versus Celtic, Braga at home, Red Star Belgrade. Gentlemen.
Oh, you've all done it.
Well, you know, I was trying my best. Sturm Graz at home, Midtjylland away, Utrecht at home, and then Bologna away. Some of the fixtures we have seen previously, some of them are new to the Celtic canon. So it's always interesting. You look at the home ties for the package, you look at the away ties for an away day. Hopefully we can get a few of them this season with Acsom as well.
Here's a question for you, Paul. Obviously the draw's now been made. There's some players returning back to Parkhead for the first time. As we've seen earlier on, you brought up Barkas will be returning. Lager Bielka will be returning. How much is the ticket package going to be?
That's a good question, Colin, because what I've seen a lot of, and I'm going to discuss this as well today, because I think it is vitally important to discuss this. What I've seen a lot of over the last wee while is how to force change, how to affect change, how to make your feelings known and protest and chant, etc., etc. And one of the things I've heard is don't buy the package, boycott merchandise, boycott tickets, boycott games. I've made my feelings clear on it. No, everybody is going to agree or disagree. It's entirely up to yourself how you think we should be dealing with this. European Champions League packages are always obviously uptaken a lot quicker than Europa League packages anyway, Colin. I think the club has to be very careful as to how this is pitched. We've got a fan base here who, before getting knocked out of the Champions League, were not very happy about the fact that we're losing more and more games from the season ticket, be that friendlies or even indeed the first qualifier. We're also looking at the increase in the amount of merchandise and how that is being promoted to a Celtic fan base who are not being engaged with other than the promotion and merchandise. Yep. Buy this, buy this, buy this. So I think they're going to have to be very careful, Colin, as to how this is pitched, how it's marketed. I mean, you're going to have a lot of Celtic supporters who will buy it anyway. Absolutely. Will the uptake be as quick as it would have been had we had a good transfer window? Absolutely not. And I think there's going to be fans who will vote with their feet, Colin. What do you think?
I think it's very difficult. I can understand people wanting to make a stand, and the only way sometimes to make a point to the board is to keep the money out of their pockets. And we've seen it before when we had the tarps over the upper tier And we've had the Europa League nights where it's only been the lower tier that was open. I think was that under Ronnie Dyler that season where we only had the bottom tier.
Mm-hmm.
And it has forced change and it has made an impact. But then it's whether fans will take that hit, because we have the home cup ticket scheme, which is almost like a catch-22. It's like you have to be in it to get a chance to go to these games at Hampden, whether it be the semi-finals or the finals that we just spoke about, like when Idah scored the goal. And if you're not part of that, then you don't get in the draw. So we've got something silly like 36,000 on the home cup ticket scheme already. So is that 36,000 people that's going to turn around and say, I don't want your Europa League package? Because you can't rejoin it later on in the season.
No.
Once you're off, you've got to wait till the season starts again to join back on. So Celtic have kind of got them like that. They're grabbing them and saying, you go and you admit you're not going to be going to Hampden. So that's a hard one. And then you've got ones like, there's a couple of people that sit around about me at Parkhead, because a lot of people in the comments recently didn't think I was a season ticket holder. I've been a season ticket holder for over 20 years. There's people that sit around about me that spent 3 days travelling from Glasgow to Almaty to go and watch that game on Tuesday night, going all routes, flying via Turkey, via Dubai, via wherever. And they'll look at this draw and they'll already be on Skyscanner right now trying to find the flights out to wherever they're going to be going. So you'll always have the ones, and as I said earlier, we're in the position where we want to back the team. So people making that decision, and I know there will be some that say, I'm not going, take me off the home cup ticket scheme. They will be the ones that will have to suffer later on in the season if this season's a success. So it's a real catch-22 situation, and Celtic are just sitting there going, regardless, we'll put it on. Say it's let's say, what was last year's £200 for the Champions League? Say it's even £150 or £120 or whatever it may be for the Europa League package. They'll put that on sale to the season ticket holders, and then what's left? You'll see thousands of fans like there was at the Newcastle game that haven't had the chance to go and watch Celtic go, I've got a chance to watch them play in Europe, so I'll buy those tickets. I'd be surprised if it wasn't 50,000 plus at every game.
Yeah, well, this is the argument. And again, in terms of how to support Celtic, I don't think anybody can tell the fan base how to support Celtic. It was different in the 90s. I've gone through that process. There was an end game. The people that were organising boycotts knew what they were doing, because we had to get the attendance under, I think it was 10,000. Jim will keep me correct on that. And if it went under 10,000, the club was no longer running as a going concern. The bank would call in the overdraft, and then they were in serious trouble. The club currently does not have that issue. They've got 100 million quid in the bank. We've got 54,000 season tickets already sold up front. Imagine trying to tell somebody not to go in when you've already paid for it. It's not going to happen. But I understand the frustration, and I do think there's another way. I'm going to bring up some comments before I come to the OG activist, Jim Orr. Starting off with John Gilmore. If Yang goes, PJD will need to find a new whipping boy. Come on, John. Come on. After all, Taylor and Bain have gone too. The first thing I'd say about Bain hardly played, so he was a tongue-in-cheek driver of the carpool. So there was no issue with Scott Bain. Greg Taylor, pretty sure I was supportive of Greg Taylor. However, he wasn't good enough to progress in Europe, and many others would agree with that. When it comes to Yang's not good enough, John. Simple as that. I don't have an issue with him on a personal level. He's not good enough for Celtic. He's not good enough for us to progress. And I think after 2 years, most fans can make up their minds. You might disagree, John. Tell me what your thoughts are on Yang, why we should keep him. Give me examples this season of why we should keep him. I think he's been a passenger, and he certainly wasn't the answer the other night. And after 2 years, if a player's going to come in and develop over 2 years, I want more out of that player. He was absolutely dreadful the other night, as were many of his teammates. So if he leaves the football club, I think it's the right move for him. Certainly not a whipping boy, John. My favourite player is Tony Ralston, who seems to be everybody else's whipping boy. So it flies in the face of that. John McDowell comes in and says, starve the board. I'm going to pass this over to you, Jim. What's your thoughts on comments like that? I'm seeing a lot of this kind of comment.
You talked about the Europa League package. It depends what your motivation is. Just to clarify, the home cup ticket scheme means that if we've got a home game in the cup, you automatically get sent a ticket and you're charged for it. You don't have to be on the home cup ticket scheme if we get a home tie. If you're a season ticket holder, you then can buy the ticket. So coming off the home cup ticket scheme doesn't affect anything to do with home cup ties. And how it works is basically that if we get to the semi-final, those who have been at most of the cup games have got a better chance of getting a ticket. So you could be off the home cup ticket scheme and still buy a ticket. So that, I don't think that makes a big difference. Would we'll use the word boycott. Would boycotting the Europa League package make a difference? Absolutely not. Zero difference at all. Make you feel better. I've been there. I've done that. They're not getting my money. I'm not happy with this. And that's how you feel. Definitely do that. And as you said, Paul, 30 odd years ago, that would have made a difference. It won't make a difference now.
Because they're playing at the turnstile, aren't they, back then?
Well, back then, the season would start and the average crowd might have been 30,000, right? That's the average crowd. Maybe we play Rangers, it's maybe 50, 60, but the average is 30,000. And as the season goes on, then, and things get worse, less and less and less people go. And you get to January and the league's finished and it just goes off a cliff. So you don't go, it's going to affect them. Celtic know what they're going to earn this year. We've all bought season tickets. If you don't want to go, don't go. Because there's tons of people there taking your place. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's the reality. Now, if the thing came out to starve the board, I get that. I totally get that. But see, if you're going to do that, it has to be done in an organised fashion. So who's going to starve the board? Right? It's dead easy. That's a wee catchphrase, starve the board. So what you do need is an organised campaign. If there's an organised campaign with people you think are good and you can get behind, some sort of Pied Piper, a person or a group, and it's well organised, and you've got maybe, I think these days you'd have to have 20,000 people signing up to it. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. Mm-hmm. If you've got a campaign and you've got 2,000 followers who are season ticket holders who say, I'm behind this campaign, and if you don't do what our campaign wants you to do, I'm not renewing. Celtic said, not yourself out, guys, because there's 2,000 people here on the waiting list. They'll take your tickets. So what's that going to achieve? And also the fact, as I've said before, and I'll say to him blue and green in the face, is who's going to lead that campaign? Right? Who are you going to pick? Is it the Green Brigade? Is it Ghostbusters? Is it the boys? Is it the affiliation? Is it the association? Is it the Celtic Trust? Is it the bloggers? Is it the podcasters? Paul John Dykes. There's the guy. Fine fellow that he is, Billy Comacy. Fine fellow that Paul John Dykes. He could lead the campaign. He's well known, well respected in the Celtic community. Could he lead the campaign? Would he want to lead the campaign? He was on Sky Sports for 2 minutes and the socials are flooded. Who's this guy? Who's he? Who is? He's no talks for me. So who do you find to lead this campaign to starve the board? Who do you get to do that? Because if it was there and we had the Pied Piper and they 20,000 people, including me, saying, here's my season ticket number, here's my membership number, I'm behind that campaign. You can take my name and the other 20,000 to the board and say, unless we get X, Y, Z, our guys ain't renewing. 20,000 people might make the board sit up, but you've got zero chance of getting that many people. You may get a few hundred, you may get a few thousand. That's all you'll get. So I totally back starve the board. I totally back changing this regime. But it's how you do it. Because all your people are doing are knee-jerk reactions, throwaway phrases, come up with a plan. Now, it could be the Celtic Trust, and I saw the lad Duncan the other night. So they don't have a lot of shares, but that's the only way you can affect change. Is somebody to walk in and buy a significant amount of the current shares, either be it from the major shareholder or some of the other guys who've got loads of shares, and you become a player in the greater scheme of things. Other than that, because of where we are just now, there's nothing you can do. Now, I said at the start of the programme that I'm reconciled to where we are. You talked about the price of the Europa League tickets. I'll be going to the games because, as Colin said, back the team. I want to be there to back the team. But if I thought I could affect change by not going to those Europa League games, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go because there's a plan here. We have no plan. So it's dead easy. And unlike maybe a lot of things that I say on this, and people maybe disagree, I've got a wee bit of experience in this kind of stuff. 34 years ago, and I knew you'd ask this question, right? Bomb, right? 34 years ago, I'm standing in the freezing cold outside Celtic Park, handing out leaflets. I'm not happy with what's happening. Rangers are going for 3 in a row, but I'm not happy with what's happening. We need to build a stadium, and you've just sacked Brian Dempsey, the guy who could. I'm not happy, and I'm in the freezing cold handing out flyers. And some people are nice and say, "What's this about, son?" And some people tell you to F off. And most people walk by you because that's the reality. Because what you have to understand is not everyone agrees with you. We have 60,000 people going to watch Celtic Football Club every second week. We have a fan base of millions? I don't know. People will be commenting in the chat room just now, and I don't look at the chat room, but not all of them will be part of that 60,000. I'm not saying there are any less Celtic fans, but they'll be coming from all over the world.
Absolutely.
So, and as I said before, people like, I admire the Declan McConvilles of this world, the Natasha Michels. They're up at Dingwall. They'll be going to Feyenoord. They'll be going to Roma. Imagine telling them, you're living in Manchester. Declan, don't go to the game, son. Aye, that'll be right. So I've got no issue with something that's organised, fully thought out. I use the word smart objectives, and you said maybe there's a more up-to-date version of that. What a smart objective? Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-barred. Really? What is it you're asking for? Starve the board to do what? Specifically, to do what? And how do you know you have achieved that? At what point? Because at the moment, it's just day something. I said a number of times, having a rant. Sorry, the rant is now started, that whatever time it is.
Colin and I are just sitting back enjoying it, Jim. On you go.
I said for most of the close season, we will know where we are in the 1st of September.
You did.
So let's kind of cool our jets till we get there. I would expect 3 things. 1, to be at least joint top of the league. And what that would mean is that we've been to Pittodrie and been to Ibrox and survived them. Maybe we get a point at Ibrox and we're both level at the top of the league on 10 points. But they've imploded. And we could get horsed on Sunday and still be top of the league. Not because of our efforts. We've done what we expect to do. Won 3 games of football. Not great performances. But they've imploded. So number 1 is going to be achieved. Number 2, qualify for the Champions League. Failed miserably. Shocking. Number 3 was have a stronger squad than we had at the end of last season. Miles away from that. Shocking. So we failed 2 out of those 3, and the one that we did pass was because our main rivals have imploded. That's unacceptable. I would like change at Celtic Park because, as I said earlier, all the previous managers have said the same thing, and the same thing's happened again this season. So that's not the manager's fault. It's not Yang's fault. It's not the players' fault. It's not the fans' fault. That's unacceptable. And you said something before about, I forget the quote you said, it was a Dermot Desmond thing that said, look at the trophies or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
And I will counter that with, again, another phrase that I've said quite a lot, is that on-field success masks off-field inefficiencies. The other night, we didn't get the on-field success. And what we've had in the past 3 days is you've unmasked everything. It's now been exposed. Who's signing the players? Why don't we have the youth guys coming through? Why not this? Why not what? Don't care about trophies. You've exposed that. You've exposed the fact that you're inefficient. And I'll get back again. I don't apologise for this. that I'll say from time to time, I can't see the big screen. And you might say, well, who cares if you can't see the big screen? But it's not just me. I reckon there's 20% of the crowd can't see the big screen. Now, with monitors before COVID dotted about, they've been taken away, not replaced. Why haven't they been replaced? Because they don't care. They really, really don't care about the fans. Was it Falkirk game 2 weeks ago? I'm in the Jockstein, walking up to the game. I took a photograph and put it on the Acsom group chat. It's like an industrial warehouse, the back of the Jockstein. Last year we had this wraparound thing with ex-players. That's not there. and it looks a real eyesore. Do they care? Obviously not. Is it because they don't have enough money to put some monitors in, to put a wraparound? No, they have £100 million. So why aren't they doing that? And another phrase I always stand by is, if you can't trust people with small things, you can't trust them with big things. And people talk about building a new stand. Imagine these guys trying to build a new stand.
Yeah, I know, Jim.
No chance. Forget risk averse. I'm risk averse, and I would find it difficult. I understand the reasons for building the new stand. I totally get that. But it's a huge risk, and I'm a kind of risk averse person as well. And I'd be kind of humming and hawing. But if you can't put monitors round the part and you can't put a wraparound around the part, you have zero chance of building a new stand. And that's where Fergus showed his mettle. I'll do it. Bang, 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 bang. Done. This lot couldn't do it.
Well, that's a great point. Yeah. No, that's a great point. Yeah, there we go. Round of applause, Jim. Thank you.
That was a good 10-minute rant, Jim. I'm really impressed with that. I could sit and listen to it all day.
That is impressive. But you know what? We've been banging on about the stadium, Jim. You make a very valid point there. Would you actually trust them to do that? Because let's use Barrafield as an example right now. It's gone a bit quiet about Barrafield, isn't it? I mean, the development there's fallen.
That's complete. That's just waiting on the sign-offs. Celtic's not holding that back.
But why is it? I mean, the sign-off should have happened, right? What was the target date for that?
That was meant to be last season, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a concern. So
it's not as if it's not finished though. It is there. It's ready to go. Nice. But you can't open something without having the.
No, I know that, trailer. But that's part of the planning, isn't it? That's part of the planning. Imagine
you say that as well. It's like things like what Jim was touching on. I know John Paul came out recently and said that all the banners are being replaced. Good, they're being replaced. Should be done by now. It's a lot of these things that should be done by now.
That's a very small thing, like as Jim says.
Agreed. It's a case of like these transfers that we're doing now should have been done by now. There's a lot of should have been done by now, and when it gets to there, you'll see the ones like if we'd have got through on Tuesday night and we'd have went on to sign these players that we look as if we're kind of getting down the line with, you'd have had all those people that says, I told you so, just wait to the end of the window, and all these happy clappers that are going, everything's brilliant. But instead, we're getting to this stage where it's taken something negative to spark a reaction.
Yeah.
And now the reaction's coming, you've still got those same responses from people. So as Jim says, that the fan base is so split, you just cannot win either way. You're not ever going to get a collective voice on anything.
No, you're not going to get a collective. And despite what Jim says, I'm not self-electing or being elected to be that voice, Jim. But thanks for throwing that out. I do want to touch slightly on what's happening on Tuesday next week, though, because there are so many, it's fragmented, as you said, Jim. There's so many different platforms and different associations, affiliations, trusts, groups of Celtic supporters. And I think largely it would be safe to say everybody wants the best for Celtic. How do you achieve that? And one of the ways of achieving that is to have a voice. At the moment, I don't feel as though Celtic fans have a voice. We can talk about these issues. We can collaborate with other platforms. We can do that kind of thing. But how much of a voice do we have that actually gets through and into the echo chamber of Celtic Park? Not very much. They just ignore you. You shout, sack the board, they put the PA up. You bring in a TIFO to make a protest, they'll ban you. This is or they'll shut the curtains in the executive lounges. This is how they treat the Celtic supporters. Something is happening on Tuesday. As you said, Jim, we spoke about it on Wednesday night with Duncan Smiley. Duncan is being elected, as is, or attempting to be elected, as is David Lowe and others in relation to the Celtic Trust. The view of the Trust is this. A lot of people say, I'm not getting involved with that. I'm not getting involved with the Trust. Don't do anything. Look at their website. It's not been updated in a year. Look at the socials. They never updated it in 6 months. Absolutely. That's why new people want to be elected onto it, so they can use it as a vehicle to try and push. And by the way, people say, well, you've hardly got any shares. How are you going to get to 5%? Well, it's about people who feel as strongly as we do about change with the club, not giving away their shares, not selling their shares even, although they can do if they want, but just allowing the Celtic Trust to take them under an umbrella to push towards 5%, which gives much more influence than what we have already. So we're not saying we need to go out and buy 5% of the shares. That's millions and millions and millions of pounds. It's about finding people who already are shareholders and saying to those people, are you as unhappy as us? Do you want to do this? And this is our objectives. If so, in you come. So, Jim, I know you and I are going to be attending on Tuesday night, the AGM at 7 o'clock. What do you think of that as a vehicle? With all your, your previous activist background, you showed us the original flyer there. What do you think of that as a vehicle?
Literally 5 minutes before the podcast started, this came through the door. This is my shares accounting statement for the year. Right, so I've got 2 new shares this year because basically, until a number of years ago, they would give you a slight dividend, maybe like £2 or something, or then you had the option rather than giving you a dividend and give you shares instead. So I've got 2 new shares. So Desmond, here I'm coming. I just think that you made an excellent point. Forget all the ranting and raving and whatever. We all want the same thing. We all want Celtic to be better. We all want Celtic to achieve its full potential. We all think it could be so much better than it is. So take this as constructive criticism, right? People would be quite right to say, or to come on it and completely disagree with me and say that I'm wrong and that's their opinion and that's fine, and I'll take it in that spirit. So you would hope that the people that run Celtic would take that in that spirit, but they don't. And there are similarities to the old board because they don't see fans in that way. They see fans as an obstruction, as something they don't want. They kind of get in the way. I mean, back in the day, they didn't want season ticket holders because they would feel entitled.
Yeah.
That's what happened then. I mean, the story I've told you before, one of the things that instigated this, which features in my play, and if you know the history, which is on next year, was the fact that the 1990 League Cup final against Rangers, we had an allocation of 25,000 tickets, and we had 6,000 season ticket holders, but only half of them qualified to buy a ticket. They said only 3,000, you 6,000 can buy a ticket. And I went mad at this and wrote letter after letter. And Jack McGinn said, well, what about the fans coming from Ireland? And what about the fans coming from London? I'm a season ticket holder. And there's only 6,000 of us and you've got 25,000 tickets. Are you bonkers? And that's what they didn't want that entitlement. So they won't like stuff like this. I think the Celtic Trust is the way to move forward. But people will object. You could have Mother Teresa been in charge of the Celtic Trust, and people say, "Oh no, I don't trust her. No, forget it." Building the shares up, trying to get 11. I know there are not many shares just now, but every journey starts with one step. At the end of the day, and if David Lowe on board, David Lowe's a good guy. David Lowe's got the T-shirt with this kind of stuff because that's what David Lowe tried to do back in the day. He was going to Ireland and Canada, trying to hoover up shares to try and get enough shares that we could oust the old board. Then they signed a pact and then it all went a bit pear-shaped, whatever. So David Lowe's a good guy to have on board. I don't know the other 2 guys, although I've met Peter, another guy that's involved in this as well. So yeah, I think it's a start, but it does need what I've termed moneyed Tims to come in. I mean, how much would it cost to buy out Dermot Desmond? 40 million, 50 million? I don't know.
Well, the problem with that, the problem with that, Jim, with regards to buying him out, is he's already said he won't. They're going to his son.
Yeah, but
so
but I think that's part of a campaign. Again, if the guys who get into the Celtic Trust and start to move it and shake it a bit, if they become the Pied Pipers with this, and the GB get behind that, and maybe the affiliation get behind, and then you form some sort, and then maybe that's when all the banners start happening, and that's where things like sack the board happens. Not during the game. I'm not a big fan of that, but it could be a kind of campaign where 15 minutes before every game, there's all these chants and there's all these banners and there's all these things in the car park, and once the teams come out, you back the team. And at half time, the teams go in, you've got 50 minutes at half time to make your feelings known. At the end of the game, after you applaud them at the end of the game, you spend 10 minutes to them. So you do lots of wee things like that. But fundamentally, we need a lot of shares in order to change. I'm not saying to buy them. There's other people there with quite significant shares. People will buy it. If you offer somebody enough money, they'll buy it. There must be lots of, guys like Rod Stewart, I know Rod Stewart divides opinions, but sure, Rod would chip in 10 million or whatever. Snoop Dogg. But forget them. There must be lots of Celtic-minded businessmen, captains of industry out there, Willie Hawkeys, Stephen Craigs, these kind of guys who've got a lot of money, who they must be furious at what's happening, because unlike me and unlike you and Colin, could we do a better job if we were the if you were the chief executive of Celtic? Could you do a better job than Michael Nicholson? Don't know. Don't really know. But if you've been the chief executive and you've made millions of pounds and run companies, you're looking at that thinking, I could run rings around him.
Yeah.
If I get the opportunity, I'll do that. And we've had this chat before. So that's another rant at 13:20. We've had this chat before that what would normally happen in a business is that the chief executive is the be-all and end-all. They run the company on behalf of the shareholders. That's it. And if things go pear-shaped, it's his or her head on the plate. What happened the other night? Losing whatever it is, 20, 30 million pound of revenue. If that's a company, he's gone the next morning. Why is he not going the next morning? Because he's not really a chief executive. He's an administrator. He's a lawyer taking instructions from above. So we know where the fault lies. It's not the chief executive. And he's earning £800,000 a year.
I know.
Doing that job. If he left tomorrow, does he work in another job and that kind of money? Seriously. And I'm not having a go at him. Sorry. I'm not having a go at the individual because I believe he's a big Celtic fan, works really hard.
He's been promoted beyond his ability, Jim. That's clear for anybody to see.
I just think in football, in business, whatever, then you make the sensible calls. You know, you play your best players. Always play the best. We didn't do that the other night. That was one of the reasons we lost. So that's part of the manager. So if you're appointing a chief executive or a director of finance or a joiner or a plumber or a car salesman, you're looking to the people who've done the course and distance. They've done it before, we bring them in. But I don't think, even if we got an extra, like Dominic Mackay, we brought in somebody who's a course and distance person. And he was
since gone on to do the same elsewhere.
Correct.
He's doing that, he's still doing that job elsewhere.
So for me, if you make sensible decisions and it doesn't work out, fair enough. If you make decisions which I think are not that sensible and it fails, then you blame the person who makes the decisions. If the manager picks the wrong team, I don't get annoyed at Yang, I don't get annoyed at Forrest because they shouldn't have been in the team. I get annoyed at the person who puts him in the team and then get annoyed at the people who should have bought better players to put in the team. You always get back a couple of steps. And that's the issue that I have. What was your questions about the Celtic Trust? That's a way forward. Get behind that. You might, you don't have to like the individuals concerned, but listen to what they have to say. And if what they have to say is coherent and makes sense, why wouldn't you want to follow that? Why? Because at the moment, there's no other show in town.
Well, at the moment, Jim, myself, and various other members of the Celtic State of Mind will be members and will attend the AGM on Tuesday. We will report back on Wednesday. We'll have David Lowe coming back onto the show, regardless of what the outcome is Tuesday night, and then we'll take it from there. But it is far further ahead than point zero or ground zero, Jim. They already have something in place that I think needs to be revitalised. It needs to communicate and engage with fans, because that's what we criticise the club for not doing well enough. 2 rants already today, Colin. I want to speak about Michel-Ange Balikwisha, who has joined Celtic. We reckon the transfer fees around $4.5 million from Royal Antwerp. It has been a long time coming. Why wait until 2 days after the Champions League exit? We all know why, because that's how Celtic operate. It's dysfunctional. Do you throw him right into the team if all the paperwork's done and all right? Do you throw him right into the team on Sunday?
Yes.
So would I. Right. Brilliant.
Something like that. Yeah. I think when you look at it, and I'd also throw in, because he's been training with Celtic this morning and this afternoon. Marcelo Saracchi, I would be ready to throw him in on Sunday as well, whether that be at right back or moving even Tierney in one and playing him at left back, whatever it may be. I think if he's ready, then you get him straight into the squad. And maybe we'll have another striker in by then. Even if that's the case, I'd be half tempted to have him in the squad for Sunday as well. We're in a position now where the amount of players we've got that you can actually call upon for a game like this isn't huge. We've not got a huge pool of players now. We've got rid of over 20 professional players this season between the B team, the first team, loans. There's a lot of players went out. And at the minute, you're kind of sitting with a couple of players with injuries like Alistair Johnson. Looks as if Ralston sort of was kind carrying a knock towards the end of the game on Tuesday night. Colby Donovan came on and did fairly well.
He did well.
So there's not really a lot of options there. So for me, Balikwisha, Sriracha, get them straight into the squad for Sunday.
I don't disagree with that. There's some names that have been covered over the last few days. We've got Sebastian Tuneke, we've got Kasper Dolberg, and William Boving, which is an interesting one because he is currently with Sturm Graz, who we've just drawn in the Europa. He's a striker, Danish under 21 international. He's only 22. Kasper Dolberg is 27. He looks like the real deal, Colin. Anderlecht striker, Danish international, scores wherever he plays.
He's a very good experienced striker.
Yeah.
We've not signed an experienced striker now since perhaps Giacomakis when he came in the door.
Yeah.
So it's someone like that who you want to lead the line. He's done it for Ajax. He's done it for Anderlecht. He's done it 55 times for his national team as well. So he's someone that I would have no fear in throwing into a game like that.
No, and you know what? For everything we've said about Adam Idah, they're talking £8 million for this guy, and he is a proven striker. And again, with regards to sell-on and all the rest of it, it's at a point at the moment where there are other priorities, and the priorities are making sure that enough quality comes in before the Monday deadline, Colin. And I like the look at him. The William Boving link was one that we actually came up with through one of our own sources. The source checks out, and he looks like a very, very good prospect. But maybe we've already got prospects in the team. I'm not quite sure.
Just on that though, Paul, it's like we needed a striker when Kyogo left the door. We need a striker now that Idah's leaving the building.
Yeah.
So that's two strikers that you need already. There's already links with Johnny Kenny to Bolton that have been going on all summer. There's also been talk that he's been offered out on loan to St Mirren, and that Callum Osmond has been offered out on loan to Falkirk. So you are leaving that department very thin. And as Rodgers has said numerous times before, he wants 3 strikers. So you're probably going to have to keep one of Kenny or Osmond. Idah's out the door. Or suppose you get Shin there as well, who's not hit the ground running yet. But you're still looking at bringing in 2 more strikers for me. So I don't think it's a choice between Boving and Dolberg. I think it's a case of bring both in.
Yeah, good shout. That's a great shout. Mo Sislak, always a pleasure to see you on the YouTube. There's a lot of emotions flying about at the moment, so come on, bring your comments in. What do you think of Adam Idah leaving or Balikwisha joining, and what can Celtic fans do? Let us know in the comments. The season ticket holders have to understand they are replaceable. That's true. The club are in control of this situation. We do have a game on Sunday that we've barely mentioned, Jim Orr, against Rangers, of all people, at Ibrox. We're going into that game, like you say, they have imploded. I don't really pay much attention to that. I watched the game last week against St Mirren because I wanted to know what they were about. I wanted to see the style of play, how they shaped up. Anybody who I thought is a strength or a weakness. So I watched that St Mirren game. Wasn't impressed with them, but I wasn't impressed with Celtic during the week either. How do you see it going on Sunday, Jim?
I think we have to be careful. It's the nature of football is when your rivals are doing badly, then you can laugh your head off, and then vice versa. And we've had a few laughs for the past few weeks.
1 or 2.
But remember Wim Jansen's first season. Remember Ange's season as well. They haven't started off, and they could kickstart their season on Sunday. And I think because we're going there, not in the greatest of shape. Any other time, if we were going there and they were playing the way they were playing, I'd be very confident winning the game. We could win 4-0. We could lose 4-0, and I could end up nothing each. And Sunday, anything could happen. I think I've seen most of their games. I watched the games because what's that phrase? The enemy of your enemy is your friend. Type of thing. So we're all St Mirren supporters last week. We're all Bruges supporters on Wednesday night. So, and these games mean something. I don't watch Man U v Liverpool because I couldn't care less who wins. But if I'm watching St Mirren Rangers, I'm a St Mirren fan. So that's why I watch the games.
Yeah.
And I think if they score early, I think they've got enough going forward to do us a lot of damage, and I'm a bit concerned about that. And I think the midfield, like all these games, is where it might be won and lost. And as I said earlier about playing your best players, and I said it last time I was on, and I wouldn't expect the manager to change what he does because I think it's quite stubborn. I think we've got 6 pretty good midfield players, trying to fit them into 3 positions. I think there should be 4 positions there. I think we forget about the wingers. Don't play Forrest, don't play Yang. Don't play wingers. Play 2 up top. Go with Kenny and Maida up top and flood the midfield or do a diamond or something like that. That's what I would do. But And that's what I wanted them to do Tuesday night. But again, bloody I know I'm just some old punter that watches them. But I think Sunday could go anyway because of the way both teams are starting. I think if we score early, then it'll be toxic there. We could go on to win the game quite convincingly. The last few times we've been there, I think they've scored pretty early, haven't they? Mm-hmm. And that's just got the crowd up and running. And the thing is, they win the game on Sunday. They're only 3 points behind. They've been signing players right, left, and centre. We're sleeping. Now, whether you think they're good, bad, or indifferent, they're signing people with a bit of pedigree about them. The teams that they've played for, big teams, they'll spend a bit of money. So come Sunday, if should we lose, they're only 3 points behind. They're both in the Europa League. It's all to play for. We win on Sunday, we're 9 points clear. And we could have a great season, I think. Because if you go 9 points clear, you then be able to play without fear. We should go out and just, play great football because we don't care if we drop points. Whereas they're then playing with fear every game they'll be playing.
Yep.
To answer the question, I've got no idea what's going to happen on Sunday. As I say, we could win 4-0, lose 4-0, or draw 0-0. I wouldn't be surprised about anything. I just hope we go out with the right tactics, the right players, and that they all play to their potential. We don't do anything silly. I think,
Paul, if you were looking at the team for Sunday, the one thing I think Rangers have struggled with in the games I've seen them this season is pace. Getting in behind the back, obviously. So Aaron's getting sent off on Wednesday night, or was it Wednesday night, whatever night it was, when the boy got in behind them. The goals that they've conceded, even that goal at St Mirren, was someone getting in behind as well. And this is where we need Idah to really step up. Whether he's got one eye out the door or whether he's looking for a new contract or whatever it may be, that chance that he got on Tuesday night away at Almaty, that's the kind of goals we need him to score. And that's the chances he will hopefully get on Sunday coming up against Rangers' defence. I agree with Jim, the middle of the park is crucial for this game on Sunday. And for me, I'd be looking at having sort of 2 6s and then an 8 to drive on, just to sort of build upon that. And then from that point onwards, they can also support the back line, where if Ralston's going to be playing, or if it's Donovan, or if it's Sirachi, someone who's not played in these games before, one of the 6s can support by drifting out there to sort of double up. So for me, I'd be looking at probably playing Schmeichel in goal, whether it be Ralston or Sirachi at right back. The centre-half sort of pick themselves at the minute due to injury, so it would be Carter Vickers and Scales, and then Kieran Tierney at left back. My 2 6s would be McGregor and Engels. I think they can have a sort of physical role in that game, and playing Hatate one forward.
Yeah.
And the forward 3 for me would be Balikwisha, Idah and Negrin. That would be my team for Sunday.
I agree with that. I agree with your forward line there, Colin, absolutely. Listen, it's been really good. We don't always agree on here, but that's part of the fun, isn't it? Let us know your thoughts.
I think just to butt in, sorry, last wee point, I think their best player by a mile is Bernard Gassama on the left-hand side. So whoever's right back, I think that's a major test on Sunday. So I'm not so sure throw in if Tony's fit, Tony has to play.
Tony, yeah, absolutely. And it's been pointed out that he is my favourite. But if he doesn't play well, I'll also call him out for it as well. Colin, last word to you today, young man.
Yeah, so, Paul, I just want to take this opportunity to thank everybody that's been in the comment section, to thank all the contributors. I will be stepping away from Acsom for a bit. It's not anything to do with anything that's happened on here or anything like that. It is because hopefully this time next week I will be a father. So I've got to be ready and prepare for the wee man arriving. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to bringing him up a good Celtic boy. And as I said, thank you very much for everyone's thoughts and opinions since I've came back. It's been great, and I'm sure I'll be back soon. But until then, keep supporting the channel, keep supporting the charity initiative, keep driving, and hail, hail, and all the best.
And we'll get you back whenever you want, Colin. You're always welcome. You enjoy the sleepless nights, mate. You enjoy putting the
your life is finished. That's a shame. That's a shame for Colin.
All that stuff. And when you come back,
life is over.
You will look like a different person altogether. Thanks, everybody, for getting involved. We will be back on Sunday, but tune in tonight at 6 o'clock. It's going to be one of my favourite episodes of This Is Acsom, where we have the Not The View boys. It's always an absolute pleasure. Good luck to Colin Watt. Thanks for joining us, mate. And also thank you to Jim Orr for joining us on A Celtic State of Mind.